There's something I've been thinking about lately, and it's a thought that has been running through my mind, and I've been trying to put it to words. But basically, in my daydreams, I was trying to figure out, man, should men be happy? Uh, like, is men being happy all that important? Here I am as a man, and I look at my life, I look at my goals, my desires, my dreams, and I have big dreams. I mean, I'm 32 today, and I had sought out to become a licensed valuer. I did that by the age of 30. I think that was actually 29. I had sought out to run my own companies, and I managed to do that by the age of 27. And so many things that I sought to do, but in it all, I feel as though, society has never given me a chance to be happy, or I don't know if men are supposed to be happy. I always feel as if, I'm moving from one big thing to the other, from one project to the other. I feel as if, my life is just constantly looking to provide for my family, looking to ensure that my wife and my kids are taken care of, not just financially, but also I need to be there at my office. I need to work. And, when you're self employed like myself, it many times feels as if the work never stops. And yeah, I don't mind all of that. And that's when I realized from a conversation that I was having with my wife quite recently that men are wired differently from women. I think there's this notion whereby we believe or we think that men and women are the same in many lights, and that's true. But there's also some fundamental differences with regards to work and with regards to happiness, with regards to the differences with men and women. I, for one, being a man, I know that I am happiest when I am working hard. Like, that's weird because many people want to rest to feel happy, but I feel as if I derive the highest amount of utility when I am working hard, when I am accomplishing goals. I feel very happy when I am taking steps in the right direction, when I figure something out, especially when it's very challenging. That is me at my peak levels of maybe dopamine. Yeah, it should be dopamine. Whereas what I've noticed with my wife and many other women, perhaps let me not speak for all women, but what I've noticed with my wife, who's a very high performing woman, is that she looks at pressure and she looks at work and especially what I guess I want to describe as a heavy load of work as something that is grossly burdensome, and it takes away from her peace and it takes away from her joy, which is quite the opposite with me. For me, when I have a lot of work, when I have very difficult tasks, it almost excites me from the inside. From the inside, inherently, I feel a joy. And then as I start to accomplish this work, as I start to carry out these tasks and start knocking them off one by one, it's like true joy wells up from inside of me. So I know what I was trying to figure out is whether men should be happy. But I guess the real question that I'm trying to tackle is what are the sources of happiness for men? I think for me, from my experience, from what I've seen with myself, with those around me, is that as men, we're happiest when we're working. As men, we're happiest when we are competing. As men, we're happiest when our emotions are on the edge, and it doesn't really matter what emotion it is. Be it extreme joy, be it borderline angry, borderline sad. It's just the reason why sports is so appealing to us because, during a sporting event, whether you're watching or playing, it carries your emotions to some very high levels, and that's what gives us men joy. And for women, I think it's different. Women are happy resting, women are happy nurturing, women are happy taking care of their home, women are happy with a much slower life. for the most part. Again, there are women who, seek the thrill just as much as men, or seek the hard work. But I think it's very important to notice these differences in the composition of men and women, because this then helps us relate to one another better. I am not a marriage expert by any long shot. I've only been married 5 years, but I can say for a fact that I've been married for a good 5 years. And in the 5 years that my wife and I have been married, we've both been extremely happy, extremely fulfilled, and it continues to go along that path. And what I've learned within that is the understanding of what makes me happy versus what makes my wife happy. I'll be perfectly honest. One of the greatest joys of marriage is when the two things that make each one of you happy happens to be the same thing. But many other times that's not the case, and that's okay. My wife and we like different things, and that's perfectly fine. And I think in order to have a healthy relationship as a couple, you need to acknowledge that. And you need to acknowledge that just because your friend is having a good time, without you, it doesn't mean that they don't love you. And that's something that my wife and I have done pretty well. I can go and play basketball with my friends and have a great time, and my wife is not out here feeling as if, she's missing out on anything. And I can be at home, just lounging on the couch, watching some telly, doing some research, and my wife can be out with her girls having coffee or going out for a meal. And that's also perfectly fine for me. It's like you need to strike that balance. You need to find happiness. And, in Malawi, in our culture, unfortunately, we've started this whole notion where we have now started to make it look as if when you are married, that's the end of happiness. There's this funny saying that a couple of friends of mine were saying at one of our other friends' engagements. They walked up to the guy who was getting engaged, because, like, okay, we call it engagement here, but an engagement here is basically a traditional wedding. And jokingly, and every joke has some truth to it. They were congratulating the guy, saying, "Hey, congratulations! You're about to get married. You weren't going to be happy your whole life." And I thought that was funny. Basically the insinuation was, hey, you were happy before, now you're about to get married, forget about being happy. You're setting yourself up for a trap. And I think this negative outlook towards marriage, or, this idea that a man cannot be happy once he's married, I think it's very outdated. And there's also a push. I don't know if it's an ideological push, or it's biological discovery, or people are trying to make it seem as if it's that way. But this whole idea that men cannot be monogamous, and that they're polygamous creatures by nature. And I find it funny, not funny, haha, but funny, like funny, ironic. Yeah, that's something that I like to do. I think certain things are like funny, haha, like, haha, lol, that's funny. And then some things are like funny, like funny, ironic. I don't think that men are polygamous in nature, per se. I think left out of control, anything can be anything. And I think when we find ourselves in a situation whereby we fall to our every desire, then yes, naturally men would end up polygamous. But the same can probably be said of women. If society didn't look at polygamy or promiscuity in a shameful way, then I reckon everybody would end up that way. But what I've seen is, for men, like, if you truly want to be happy, and I really hope they know women watching at this point, man, just find one good woman, because I can assure you the headaches are the same with every single woman. It's like what would you rather have? One woman who you truly love and is worth the headaches? Because, hey, this is the other side. I hope the women are back. Us men can be headaches as well. So it's like, we sometimes feel like you're giving us a headache. And I know many other times you feel as if we're giving you a headache. And so, men, stick to that one woman and you will be happy. To sort of put my thoughts or my idea of should men be happy in life, I think the answer is yes. And I think many men are just lost and they don't know where to derive happiness from. And that's the problem. When you trial and error, you find yourself in a situation where you start to believe that you don't deserve happiness, but you do. You do deserve happiness. You deserve happiness, and I want to try and help point you in the right direction where you can derive happiness. Because if you don't know where to look, you can end up not finding it, and as a result of not finding it, you can convince yourself of a lie that men do not deserve to be happy. Now, I'm not a know it all, but I know enough to say what I said to begin with, that men find happiness from work. As a man, the first thing that you must seek to do is seek to find your purpose. As a man, you must seek to find the work that you're supposed to do. Now, notice how I am carefully using the word work as opposed to job, because every single person inherently, every single man, there's a work that you must do, and that work is inside you, and you know that work. It's not a job. It's not what you do to make money. Yes, that can be part of it, and where those two intertwine, that is so beautiful. But that is not necessarily it. As a man, you are a leader naturally. Many of the times you're a leader, and not to say that women cannot be leaders, but okay, let me sort of try and paint this picture. If we are in a situation where there's a man and there's a man and there's a woman, and there's a dangerous situation, I mean, that is about to take place, or there's a thief or something, who do you look to go and take care of that? Naturally, and I hope we can all agree on this, we look to the man, because as the man, there's that leadership in you. You're supposed to provide, you're supposed to protect, you're supposed to work. Now, in order to find true joy, true happiness, as a man, you need to find your work. You need to find that thing that you do, that you bring to this world, that makes it a better place. Be it building rocket ships, be it making sure that all the grass is chopped and is level in your neighborhood or in your home, whatever it is. In order to be happy, you need to find your work and do it excellently. Give it your all. That, I assure you, is going to give you the greatest amount of joy. The second thing, if you seek to find a marriage partner, find someone who you love, someone who fits your values, someone who you can grow together, someone who challenges you, someone who is beautiful to you. They don't necessarily need to be beautiful to everyone else, but they need to be beautiful to you. And by that, I mean, don't just look for outward appearances, because outward appearances, outward beauty fades. You need to find that person beautiful both inside and outside, because at meeting them, their outside beauty is probably going to attract you. But in order to make it work for the long haul, it's their inward beauty that's going to keep you. So make sure when you're searching that that's something that you prioritize, inward and outward beauty. And when you find that person, love them and don't look elsewhere. There's this joke that I make whereby I say, ever since I found my wife, every other woman to me, they're just trees. And that's the way I like to look at it. My wife is the only woman and she makes me happy. And I hope that's something which, the rest of you men can learn, because without getting too deep into it, the moment you start to introduce other people into your marriage, it's just a recipe for disaster. There is no situation where a marriage union of two people and they invite a third party, be it short term third parties who come and go. They're going to disrupt things. And in the long term, it's going to take away your happiness. Another source of happiness for men that I have found is children. Man, I think it was Elon Musk. I saw a video where he was talking about how children, if there was no inherent joy from reproduction, then men and women or the human race was going to be extinct. There's a certain joy, a pure joy that comes from um, having children and having someone look up to you and having someone to care for, someone who's dependent on you, someone who you can guide. You know, as a man, seek to find work, seek to find a good woman, and seek to reproduce. Like it's beautiful. And there's this thing about the world is overpopulated, or we don't need any more. Bunch of bollocks, man. Like, the world is not overpopulated. Bring more kids into this world, train them well, give them a good home, and they're gonna grow up to be solution providers for their generation. What I've learned with this life is that whatever situation or whatever problem that the human race has encountered, all we've really needed is, it's not even a lot of people. It's usually just one or two brilliant minds who come in and they fix that problem. So I've learned that, this whole doomsday notion of overpopulation, we're hurting the earth, I don't believe it. I don't buy into it. Man, you're going to find true joy, you're going to find true contentment in having children. And lastly, but probably should have been first, is you need to find God, in order to be happy as a man, as a human being. The starting point is God. God is our creator and our father, our heavenly father. It's important to understand the many functions that he plays. And it's important to have that relationship with him, because when you have a relationship with God, you have the relationship with love. And when you have a relationship with love, then you have true joy, true hope, true contentment. Like, your life is beautiful. Men, the world can get hard on us, and sometimes the world and the systems of the world, it's not wired to allow us to be soft, or for us to easily find a place where we can find refuge, a place where we can find solace, a place where we can find comfort. And God becomes that, when things get tough. Certain conversations you don't even want to have with your wife, because if you tell your wife certain things, she may one day use them against you, whether jokingly or in a real situation. But it's something which I know a lot of men are afraid of, vulnerability, but God gives us that ability to have that person or that place where we can go and be vulnerable. And there's joy in the ability to be vulnerable. God gives us a place whereby we can truly express ourselves, we can truly learn, because the difference between us and God is all powerful, all knowing, all seeing, and all wise. So he can give us the counsel we need, he can give us solutions, he can give us everything. So, man, I will tell you this: life will get hard. And without these things, especially if you're getting older, life is going to crush you. You need God. You need work that is fulfilling, not a job. You need work. You need a wife who's beautiful to you outside and inside. You need children who are going to give you a sense of continuity. They're going to give you a sense of hope. They're going to give you something to look forward to, because in this life, things can get hard. And when a man has those four things: God, work, a good woman, and children, that man is indestructible. He's indestructible and nothing can take him down. And on top of that, that man is very happy. If you've watched this far, I'd like you to hit that like button. I'd like you to hit subscribe. And don't forget to tell a friend about Thoughts of the Young Icon. Thank you very much.